Hello everyone, this is Chris, and there's some biomes in Minecraft that just sort of become a staple point for the game as a whole, whether it be the mushroom biome, the mesa biome, or even the ice spikes biome. And to continue the trend of 1.18 biomes being incredibly massive, today's seed, which is those numbers right there, has an ice spikes biome that stretches across about 1,000 blocks in a singular direction. And of course, if you have any particular seeds you found yourself and you think they are pretty interesting, then please do leave them down below in the comments and I might check them out myself. But yeah, for this particular seed, this is the spawn right here in kind of the middle of a pretty frozen wasteland right here, right next to some patches of powdered snow, right next to some pretty decent sized mountain biomes around the place. And surprisingly, some of these mountains actually managed to spawn in some mega caves right here, such as this one dripstone cave, which is actually a pretty vertical dripstone cave. Like you typically see some of these much lower down, but to have one really high up and go down fairly decent is a pretty cool commodity. And this mountain biome itself is just barely short of tipping over the cloud level, so in case you do still want to have some very steep generation and very tall mountains, but not clipping too incredibly high, then this mountain certainly is a pretty good choice on going to it. But if the mountain doesn't interest you, then maybe one of the smallest ice spikes biomes I think I've ever seen might interest you. And yeah, it's just strange seeing these microbiomes all over the place. I will never get used to them, but it's always just sort of weird when you run into them. You know, I thought you guys were good at working with these sort of things, but I guess apparently not. But yeah, if that tiny ice spikes biome wasn't good enough for you, then this seed absolutely delivers in possibly one of the biggest ice spikes biomes ever, or at least so far as what we have found inside of 1.18, because this one stretches across hundreds and hundreds of blocks. And I mean, just looking at it right here, it looks like it goes on for literally ever. My render distance is set right now up to 40 chunks right now, and even that still isn't enough to see the absolute scope of this one biome. And what also makes it interesting is the fact that this ice spikes biome spawned right next to an iceberg biome, so you are absolutely not short of any packed ice, blue ice, or any type of ice inside this one seed. And on your way to the other edge of the ice spikes biome, you do find yourself some pretty interesting cave generation like what we see right here. There's not really any mega gaps or anything like that, but there are ways on getting yourself deeper and deeper inside of here. Okay, I stand corrected, because not too incredibly far from that one cave entrance, we get this one, which actually does go down quite a decent distance down, right down to the deep slate layer. It doesn't go necessarily as deep as it could go, but if you do want some still fairly deep access to some caves, then it does have it here. And I stand corrected, because there is an actual link to the very bottom of the world right here. And now, after all that flying, we managed to make ourselves to the very edge of this one ice spikes biome. And if you remember, spawn was at around about 0, and we've flown about 900 blocks in one direction and almost 1,800 blocks in another. But I still don't feel like we fully understood the full scale and scope of this one biome, so without any jump cuts or anything like that, let's fly from this one edge right back to the very start. Yeah, even if it was sped up at that one point, it still took us that amount of time going from one edge to another. And if we come up 800 blocks in the sky and we set a render distance up to 80, then we get a real sense to the absolute size of this one biome. It goes all the way over there to all the way over there, right to the very edge of our render distance. So this biome is absurdly massive, much more bigger than what we would normally expect an ice spikes biome to be, which is honestly kind of amazing, and I kind of absolutely love seeing biomes that go this incredibly big and this incredibly massive. But if you still somehow haven't gotten your full fix of ice and ice spikes biomes and things like that, then there is actually a neighboring ice spikes biome that is actually also really massive too. And it's obviously not quite as big as the one we were just at, but it is still a fairly decent size right here. And going past this one ice spikes biome, you not only get a village right here, you not only get an igloo right here, but you also get this mega cave entrance right here, which also links right its way down into an abandoned mineshaft right here too. Oh, and I didn't even notice it, but there's also a mob spawner right here and a skeleton spawner with that too. So yeah, if you are looking for another reason to come over here to a slightly big ice spikes biome, but not compared to the other one, then yeah, there are definitely reasons I'm coming over here, even with the enchanted golden apple too. You know, I can't necessarily say this is the best place for pillagers to place their pillager tower, but I guess these guys decided otherwise and decided to put it right in the middle of this one river right here. And at least this pillager outpost right here, which is much closer to spawn, knows better than to just place their outpost right in the middle of the water. And speaking of weird structure placements, does anyone ever question why there's always a stronghold below a village? Well, whether you do or not, if you head over to this one village, you will get yourself a blacksmith right here, and of course an igloo over here, right next to the stronghold room right here. Because you just have to dig yourself just down to these coordinates and then you get yourself the end portal room. But you might have noticed that I have put a few other sort of pillars around the place, and that's because there's actually some Eyes of Ender, or Ender Pearls just sitting around the place too, just in this chest right here. I believe we head just down this way, and then just over here we get ourselves a second one just right here, which does obviously make the task of actually getting the Ender Pearls needed to go to the end a little bit easier. But even though the end is slightly hard to get to, you at least have almost an infinite wonderland of an ice spike biome you have right here. But yeah, for now, thanks for watching, and I'll see you all later.